All right, in this video, I want to talk about and show off this program called Audio Category Clipper. Now, Kai Paquin's dad wrote this program for us, and Kai has had some tutorials up in the past, but I wanted to make a new one sort of explaining the current state of things and just showing it off one more time that I could put up here on the YouTube channel. What Audio Category Clipper is a fairly simple program, but it allows you to search through the list for category IDs and category information. And it also has a file name builder in it as well. So if you're not using any kind of a databasing program, for example, everything that this program can do, you could do in SoundMiner in different ways. If you're a keyboard maestro user, you could use some of those macros to accomplish some of the same things. But the nice thing about this program is that it works on Windows and Mac, and it allows you to search the synonyms, which is kind of cool. So I'm going to show you that. So let me show you the program and also a couple of Keyboard Maestro scripts that can kind of go with it to do some other things. So the program looks like this, and two things to know about the program. One, it's written, well, three things. It's written using some Chrome extensions, which means that the program itself is actually really large. It comes at almost 700 megabytes, and I don't know exactly why. That's just kind of the bloat from the way that it was programmed using Chrome things. So don't panic, it's a big program. It also takes a while to open. It can take like 30 seconds to open, and it'll almost seem like your computer is freezing up while it opens. And I think that's just things it's doing behind the scenes. So don't panic when you first open it. It can take a while to open. You can resize it. I've resized it a little bit larger so that when we get to the file name, we have some room to see all the parts of it. But the first part, the first pane, is just to search the category information. You see here these things say options. This is what will basically get copied to the clipboard once you make a selection. So right now it's going to copy to the clipboard the category, the subcategory, and the cat ID, which I'll show you. Basically, you just click under here to select a category and you start to type something. Now, if you knew the exact category, you could just type, for example, ambience. And now I can scroll down through all of the ambience categories and it tells you an explanation down here of what that category is. So I could go, okay, ambient celebration is what I want. So now if I click that, you see a little message pops up here that says ambience, miscellaneous, and then the cat ID have been copied to the clipboard. And I can click in this Apple script thing just as a way to paste something to see. If I paste, that's what was on the clipboard. So it took, the category, the subcategory, and the cat ID. Now, it's rare that you'd want to use probably all three of these together in this way. But what you might want to do is just to get the cat ID. So now if I come back in here, I'll just hit return again. And now just ambience CELE, which is the cat ID for ambient celebration, has been copied to the clipboard, right? Now, from here, maybe I want to take that, when it's on the clipboard and go somewhere else and paste it or something like that. Again, this is a great way to learn the list, however, because what you can do is you can search, as I said, the synonyms. So let's say I have basically a recording of a tiger. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to erase this, and I'm going to type the word tiger. And you'll see that it recommends to me animals, cat, wild as the category. And it's recommending that because tiger is listed as one of the synonyms for that category. So it doesn't say tiger in the actual explanation, but the synonym list behind the scene does have that. So the same thing, if I typed here lion, I should basically get the same. And actually for lion, I'm going to get two. I'm going to get animals aquatic and animals wildcats. Well, the reason is sea lion is actually a synonym for this category. So that's why I get both recommendations. So this is a great way if you don't really know the list at all to be able to search via the synonym list or the explanation or any of these things. So if I type tennis, I'll get basically sports court or ambience sport because that covers sporting events, and you see tennis is somewhere listed in this synonym list as well. Okay, so that's the first pane. Again, pretty useful for just getting to know the list and searching for things. You'll see this area here called Apple script. Now, the program can actually trigger an Apple script at the end of making a selection if you want. Now, what you can do via Apple script is similar to what you can do with Keyboard Maestro. You could call another program to the foreground and paste the contents of the clipboard and things like that. There's one sort of problem with running Apple script from within Audio Category Clipper, and it has quite a bit of lag. Like it can sometimes take 20 seconds before it actually triggers. So in fact, what you're probably better off doing is once you get that information on the clipboard, using something like Keyboard Maestro to trigger something like an Apple script. And I'll show you that in a second when we do go to the file name builder. So the second way of interfacing with this program is the file name builder. And what you see across the top are a bunch of prompts for information. And the things in red are basically the 4 required parts of a UCS file name. So you can't sort of skip any of those 4. The other 3 are kind of gray and they say optional and you don't have to use them. And you can go over here and say search the synonyms. So the same thing. So if I wanted to search, for example, park. Now, this is using the new 8.1 list, which has a new subcategory, but you'll see here, I get a few different options. So crowds children, because they're maybe in a playground or a park. Doors gate, maybe like a garden gate or a park gate. You see, this is why it's, showing me some of these things. Now it starts to get a little confused because like Sparks has the word park in it, is my guess, and that's probably why it's recommending that. So you see that it's not exactly perfect. It might recommend more categories than you want. But again, if I come in here and I type bus, for example, I'll get, if I scroll down, vehicles bus. So let's say we're going to make a bus recording. Now, user category and vendor category, again, I'm not going to get into them here. They're part of the UCS file name spec. They're optional. I could put in here something like exterior, and you see down here the file name starts to be built, and it shows me question marks for the parts that aren't yet filled in, but it starts to fill in as I do this. And under vendor category, I'm going to put Greyhound. And the effects name, I'm going to put interior bus ride, if I can spell, day. And creator, I'm going to put my initials. And you see that these things start to turn gray as I fill them in because I've satisfied the requirement to fill those in. And the source ID, I'm going to put none because this wasn't recorded for a library. And under user data, what people use this for a lot of times is microphones. So I'm going to put Sony D100, right? Maybe that's the recorder that I used. Now, as soon as I hit return, you'll see a little message that tells me that that file name has now been copied to the clipboard. And I can verify that by just pasting it right into the Apple script, and just to verify that's exactly what I made. That's what I built. Now that I've copied that to the clipboard, there's a couple of things that I could do via Keyboard Maestro or, via Apple script as well, if I wanted to. If you're a Pro Tools user or a Reaper user, for example, there's a Keyboard Maestro macro that will basically take this item on the clipboard, switch to that app, and paste it into a file. So let me show you that really quickly. So I'm going to call Pro Tools up to the foreground. And I have here just an audio file that just says audio 01. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click it to select it. That's important for this to work. And then I'm going to call back audio category clipper to the foreground. And I'm going to call up Keyboard Maestro just to show you this macro here. Now, again, I'll explain in more detail what all these macros do in the video on the Keyboard Maestro. But what you can see is that there are 4 different macros here for audio category clipper that you can use. And I'm going to take the one here that says assign clipboard to Pro Tools, and I'm going to make it active. And it's assigned to the hotkey F16. So with audio category clipper in the foreground, and I know that that is on the clipboard, I'll just click this again to make sure. And I'm going to press F16 and watch what happens. Pro Tools will come to the foreground and paste that file name directly into the region that I had selected. So there's a macro that does the same thing for Reaper. I don't use Reaper, so I can't show it to you, but there's another macro included in the set that does that. There are also 2 macros for audio category clipper that basically can trigger the assigning of CatIDs and expand it out to category, subcategory, category, full, and SoundMiner. Now, I would argue that you probably don't want to use these. SoundMiner has built-in ways to do this just as easily, and you can search the synonyms and things like that. So these were made before SoundMiner had some of these newer abilities to do that. So I would call these sort of outdated. I'm not even going to show them off because honestly, the one's downside to using these is that when you run them, basically SoundMiner doesn't want to undo very nicely. So it's a little bit dangerous to use these. But they are here if you want to investigate them. Basically, they just call SoundMiner to the foreground, paste the cat ID into the cat ID field. This one does the same thing and then calls via a menu to expand the cat ID out to the category, subcategory, and category full fields. Now, again, these things are easily done in SoundMiner. But these two, assign clipboard to Pro Tools and assign clipboard to Reaper that are included in this macro set, will be very useful, especially if you are using either of those programs and you want to use audio category clipper. Now, if I wanted to change the category, I could simply come in here, remove this, and choose a different category. So I can choose helicopter, and you'll see that the name updates, but it keeps the rest of these things. Now, between quits of the program, it will actually remember your creator ID and source ID. So whatever you've put in here, the next time you relaunch, this will be pre-populated, I believe. Maybe the user data as well. But the rest of these things will be grayed out, I believe. Now you can also click this trash can here to basically clear out all the options really quickly, or you could just clear out once you choose a category. You can just hit the little X here to clear just that, but leave the rest of this. So you can really easily zero this out. But that's Audio Category Clipper. It's a free program. Anybody can use it. And it does have the ability even to load your own lists. So if I click this little button here, import category file, if you weren't using UCS, but you had some kind of category system you wanted to use. Now, I don't know exactly the format that this list needs to be in. I'm guessing that it would be a comma separated or a tab separated value um, with these three pieces, category, subcategory, cat ID, probably in that order. And again, this program was written for UCS, so that's the list that's sort of built into it. But it is possible in theory to load your own list into this. So, okay, that's Audio Category Clipper. If you want to see more about the Keyboard Maestro, things that go along with this, look at the video on Keyboard Maestro. That'll show you how to download and install that whole macro set. Thanks for watching.